Together we learn, together we grow, together we heal, together we flow. Be cool, every teacher, every school. 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 Be cool, every teacher, every school.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Todd Scholl. I serve as the lead learner for the Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. We call ourselves Cool. You can find out more about us on our website at cool.us, that's cewl.us. Lots of great information there and resources for educators here in South Carolina, but really resources anyone can check out. And we're really proud of the work that we do at Cool. We are working with the South Carolina Education Association. We work on a grant from the National Education Association. The SCEA is the state affiliate for NEA. And if you are interested in joining the South Carolina Education Association, the only union for educators in South Carolina, you can go to this website, jointhescea.org. We'd like to invite you to do that. And you can learn more about us at the scea.org. So it's been a couple of months. We've had some retreats. We've done some really good work, and the summer is now over, and it is now back to school time. And we are excited about some of the things that we're going to be doing this fall, including Cool Coaching, and I'll talk about a little bit about that after the show. But for the first episode of this year, I really wanted to highlight three incredibly important people on the SCEA staff. And those are our UniServ directors. And for folks who don't know, these three people are really the backbone of the SCEA, really important people. They do incredibly important work advocating for members of the SCEA. And I thought I would bring them on to talk a little bit more about them so that you can get to know who they are and what they do. Because they are important people. So without further ado, here's Melody, Brandi, and Alana, three UniServ directors for the South Carolina Education Association. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good. Thank you for asking.
Good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing great.
So let's start. I will start with Melody. Melody, tell folks a little bit more about you, your region, and how you got into this work as a UD.
Sure. So I was formerly a music educator and member of the SCEA before I got into this position. I taught a little while in Richland 1, taught a little while in Anderson 5, and then I joined the SCEA and started attending conferences, all that. And the executive director takes a look at me and says, "You know what? I want you on staff." And I said, "Okay." So 13 years later, here I am. I got on staff with the SCEA, and I really enjoyed it. When I was a teacher, my passion was every kid, every day. You don't just learn music in my classroom. You learn little life lessons. And I grew that more into the role I'm doing now as a UniServ director here in the upstate. Every kid, every school, every day, right? And I have a little boy, and he just turned 8. He's a big 3rd grader now. And that boy is the sun and the moon and the stars for me. And so now my passion in my work is I want for every kid, every school, every educator, bus driver, secretary, I want for education, I want for us to have the best kind of schools that these kids deserve. And just like I want the sun and moon and stars for my little guy, I want the sun and moon and stars for all of the kids in South Carolina as well. So
Melody, and tell folks kind of like your region. So folks who might have just been joining and aren't familiar, if they live in a certain region, they're assigned a particular UniServ director. So what is your region?
Pretty much everything above I-20. Big area. So all the way from Oconee Pickens, across the state over to York County, down towards Newberry, Darlington is part of my area, Lee County, Greenwood, all of that.
Okay, let's move on to the Midlands region with Brandi. So introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this work as a UniServ director.
Hey, so I am Brandi Sturdevant, and I was formerly a mid-level science teacher. I worked 10 years in Richland too, all at the same school, but divided by a year. I worked 1 year in Lexington, Richland 5, and that's where I live. My daughter got identified as gifted when she was in the 2nd grade, and I didn't really know what that looked like in the district that I lived in Irmo. So I started looking for some information, and I found a nonprofit group that works for advocacy for gifted students. And so they watch the board meetings all the time. So I started watching the board meetings, and then I started advocating. And I actually didn't belong to the SCEA the whole time I was teaching. I belonged to a competitor, and when I was very upset about something that was happening, and I asked for help, and I asked, what are we going to do about this? The answer was nothing. And my UniServ director, when I did join the SCEA, was Keneal, and I met her in an event, and she said, oh, here's what we can do about it. And she started planning, and we had a big action, and it was really great. And after that, I was still advocating in my district I live in, the district I work. And now that I'm on SCEA staff, I get to advocate for all of the districts in the Midlands. And our Midlands is a little bit bigger than what some people might consider Midlands. I work from Edgefield all the way to Horry County, so straight through the middle of the state.
Okay, so yeah, so the regions, sometimes in South Carolina, different organizations have different regional breakdowns. Like Sarah has I think 5 different regions. So ours are more like, instead of like diagonally cut, more like just straight across cut. Like if you just looked at it like you would look at it on a map, cutting it straight across. Thank you, Brandi. Alana, down in the Low Country, tell us a little bit about your journey to being a UD and who you are.
So first, thank you for putting this together, and this is really important work that you're doing, and it's really important information, because you would not imagine how many times we go to a school or we go somewhere and the question is, now what's a UniServ director, or what exactly does the SCEA do? So it's really good to answer those questions, especially at the beginning of the year. So I actually started teaching in 1996. I know that was a long time ago, and some people who are possibly listening to this weren't born then, and that's okay. But I started teaching in 1996, and before I got my first job as a classroom instructor, as an English teacher, middle school English teacher in Tallahassee, Florida, as a student teacher, I was doing my student teaching, and my cooperating teacher was fully disengaged. I had it at that point. And a student came in one day and told the principal, or told someone, that she had cursed at him and called him a racial slur. And she came to me and she was like, oh my God, did I do that? Did I curse? She said, I know I didn't call him a racial slur, but did I curse? Did I do anything that might've been? I said, ma'am, of course you didn't, because I was teaching. And if he's accusing anyone, he's accusing me. And I know I didn't do it because I don't curse, and, yada, yada. And so, we had a meeting like the next day or 2 days later, and the district was taking it very seriously. They had their people there, they had the lawyers, they had the parents, and she came in and she had one person on her left and one person on her right. And I got there and I was like, wow, who are all these people? And I told my story, and they, found the allegations totally false. And I said later to her, I said, well, who were those people with you? And she said, oh, girl, that was my union. And at the time that was, in Florida. So it was the Florida Education Association. And she said, as soon as I heard what they were saying, I called them and they said, we got you. And so she said, and by the way, you need to join. And so I joined. And I have been a member, except for, some glitches where I could not find my union for a second. I have been a member since 1996. So it is just incredibly important to have that support. I taught in Florida, I taught in Virginia, and then got to South Carolina, and I taught here for the last leg of my career until 2021. And I was just a dues paying member. I wasn't very involved. Toward the end, I was the building rep for my school, and Mary Rita Watson, who was my local president, convinced me. She volunteered me to be the building rep at my building, and towards the end of my career, I was like, Mary Rita, I'm leaving the classroom, and I don't know what I'm doing next. I want to go into administration. And she said, okay, well, if there's any way I can help, you let me know. And I called her, and I was like, I'm interviewing, I'm not having any luck, yada yada. And she said, well, I do know of some people, I do know of some things, but I think you'd be perfect for this program that, I got an email about. I'm going to send you the email. Let me know if you're interested. If you are, I'll write you a recommendation. And I looked at it for like 30 seconds and I started applying. And that program was the NEA Organizing Fellowship Academy. And I called her halfway through my application and I said, Mary Rita, I'm applying right now. She said, okay, good. I got you. And that was the beginning of my journey into this side of the work with NEA and with the SCEA. And what I can tell you is when I left the classroom, my desire was to be an advocate for educators. It was to stand up for my fellow teachers, because this was just after COVID. I had seen educators who would, come to work sick because the shortage was critical. Educators were just bending over backwards trying to make this thing work because we believed so much in it. And in the process, we were sacrificing ourselves, we were sacrificing our health, we were sacrificing our families. And I just knew it could be better. I didn't know how, but I was like, this is the next thing for me. And I didn't know how that was going to happen. And the SCEA and NEA gave me the tools, they gave me the training, and they gave me the opportunity to help make a difference in public education. And so that's been my passion. That's been my heart. And I'm just so grateful to be able to do this. And I serve the lower state.
Right.
I say that because there's air quotes there. It is Unidistrict 3, but it extends all the way from Aiken to Georgetown, so across, and from Orangeburg to Beaufort. So
Wow.
the lower, I say it's the smile of South Carolina. It's that lower part.
Gotcha.
And some of the upper.
Okay. Thank you so much, y'all, for that. Your introductions, that was great. Hopefully folks will get to know you, and the members who are in your region will reach out to you if they're in need. I want to talk I want to ask you, just so that members and potential members know, because we're the only organization that has UniServ directors, that has people regionally that are on staff ready to come out and support educators in each region of the state. But like, what kind of supports do you provide to members of the SCEA? I'll let anybody can jump in on that.
I'll start with one because I was there today. We go to building visits. So several days a week, we're inside school buildings where the teachers are, where the educators are, where the custodians, the cafeteria workers, everyone is inside their work site, and we go there and make ourselves available for the day for members to come say hey, to make sure they're using all their benefits, and then to listen to them. We have to have our fingers on the pulse, so to speak, to know what's going on. And we learn, then people are like, oh, hey, I'm having this issue. What can we do about that? And we get to help with very specific, very local issues that educators are having in the moment.
Thanks. And one of the things that's really powerful about the SCEA is it's not just a teachers association, that y'all are actually representing and advocating for the bus drivers, the cafeteria staff, everybody who works in a public school building in South Carolina. It's not just teachers, it's everybody. So I think that is another thing that separates your work from perhaps other organizations. What else can folks come to you for?
I was going to, just touch on that advocacy. When members have concerns, I tell them all the time, call me. If you think something's wrong, if you feel a certain way, give me a call. And maybe it's nothing. Maybe we don't need to have any action associated with it. Maybe it's just, we need to talk about it and talk about how you move forward. But maybe there is a concern that needs to be addressed. I'm always available to read an email to see if it is appropriate, if it expresses what you'd like for it to express. We help with writing letters that maybe address an issue that went on at school, rebuttals to write-ups, or things like that, grievances, whatever type of advocacy a member might need. We're here for that. Just making sure that they're supported and they know that the SCEA has their back.
And I think it's important. I think thinking back to my years in the classroom, you build up this confidence, like nothing bad's going to happen to me. Like I'm okay. I'm doing everything the right way. But what folks don't understand is that you don't know what can possibly happen. And it's like you don't go onto a boat without life jackets. You don't go into the plane without the masks, the oxygen masks. There's a lot of things that you don't expect to happen, but that could happen. And having someone that can have your back if and when something happens, hopefully it never will, but having somebody that I can call on, not just like a random person at school who may not really be able to help you. They may be in the same boat you are, or not know what steps that need to be taken. Just to have that person that I can call, and they're right in my region, and that each one of you is in a region. I can call someone who's not that far away from me, who can give me the advice I need when I am in need. Melody, what were some things that you have been doing this for a long time? What are some of the most meaningful parts of your work?
I mean, if I were to explain it to somebody, I would say that our UniServ directors are like first responders in a way. If you have questions about your contract, if you have questions about school board policy, if our local organizations, so when you join the SCEA, you're a member of your local, state, and national affiliates all wrapped up into one package. And so the UniServ directors provide direct support to our members, like on individual issues, but then we also provide and facilitate and coach and mentor support for our local chapters. So my office is based in Greenville. I work very closely with the local officers to help them skill up on things that they need to grow their leadership, build the relationships. The important thing about UniServ's is we have our finger on the pulse of things that are going on in the school district, because we hear from all of our members. We have members in every building, district offices, superintendents, school board people are also members with us. I have members everywhere. And so I'm hearing from all of these people. And so when I get that information, I start noticing trends and issues, things like that, that I can then go to the people of power. I know exactly who to go to address whatever issue it is that's on the plate that I'm noticing in districts. And some superintendents have been extremely receptive to that, because they're like, especially new ones. We've had a little switcheroo of superintendents in the upstate, and the ones I've talked to so far, they've really appreciated the insight, because I had one in particular say, I'm new, not from this area, and I don't feel like I think they're telling me what they want me to hear and not what I need to hear. And so I was like, well, buckle up, because I can share you all the good, bad, and ugly, everything I'm hearing. And so when I started sharing trends and what I was hearing, that actually helped that superintendent say, you know what? Like, I can put steps in place to fix those issues. And so, yeah, we help our individual members, but the work that we do also goes to benefit the greater whole at the end of the day, too.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And folks who might be watching who maybe aren't a part of an organization, who haven't joined an advocacy association, need to understand that in South Carolina, there's only one association that is working at all three levels you mentioned. So we know working at the state level is important, because that's the state house is where a lot of laws are passed. It's where the budgets are passed. And so much that happens in Columbia makes its way into our classrooms. But if we're not advocating at the national level, for example, there are a lot of national policies that make their way to the State Department, right? And if other states are struggling, we're likely to struggle. If other states are starting to pay their teachers more, then that puts pressure on our state to pay teachers more. But that local level advocacy is also critical, because school boards are making decisions. Individual administrators are setting policies, and our educators are there on the ground at the local level. That's where they're working day to day. Most educators are not going to the State House or to Columbia. So their primary concern, at least mine was, my primary concern is what's happening in my building and in my district. And to have somebody that I know I can call on, who will come to my building and visit and help me work through whatever problem that I'm having and my colleagues are having, either at the school level or at the district level, that piece of the advocacy puzzle is, if it's not the most important, it's one of the most important, because and we can't be missing that. What are some of the things that you're seeing as we head into this school year that educators are talking about, some concerns that they're bringing forward? You don't have to mention anybody specifically, but just some of the issues that they're raising with you.
So I'll start, Todd. Alana told her story, and a lot of educators think that that's what we do, is help with those specific cases where, that teacher was accused of something. But a lot of what we're seeing right now aren't things that are happening to specific educators. They're things that are happening to whole groups of educators. Recently, the Educator Assistance Act passed, and part of that bill requires that districts have provide 2 days of unencumbered time for educators to prepare for the school year. And we've seen so far a lot of cases where folks were not sure if that was happening or not, and shared their schedule with us, and we were able to make sure that they were getting those 2 days. And in the cases where it wasn't, we were able to kind of talk to their supervisors, their principals, their team leads, and make sure that they were able to get that unencumbered time at the beginning of the year. And with that act, also contract issues for any educators that moved to a new district that was not touching their current district. That was another part of the bill. And so those are the two biggest issues that I've been getting calls about this week and this month.
Thank you, Brandi. Melody, Alana?
I would say the same. She actually stole the words out of my mouth. The Educator Assistance Act has been big because this was the first school year that got implemented. So a lot of we had some districts who were really on the ball with all the changes and made sure that their schedules fit that. And then we had some districts who needed a gentle reminder. But then also, yes, contract issues. I've heard things about contracts from individual teachers. One that comes to mind is a common one is that when a teacher moves from a district, sometimes those districts will try to offer that teacher who had previously had a continuing contract, they'll try to offer them an annual contract and make them go right back through a debt, even though they're a continuing contract teacher from another district. And so we've had to intervene in some of those cases as well. And another thing that I've had to recently work on is when a teacher has already signed a contract, the district will come back and say, oh, actually, hold on, sign this revised contract. It was just a little housekeeping typo error thing. And then when the teacher sends me both contracts, I realize it's a little bit more than a typo that was adjusted in that contract. And so I work to assist those members with that as well.
Thanks. Alana, any thoughts?
So yes, definitely those things were concerns that we were having over the summer as we go to back to school, went through back to school and started the school year. But I would say also boundaries. As we start the school year, I think administration sometimes makes requests of educators that leave them feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And so starting the school year, everybody has to figure out, especially the new teachers, the people who are new to the profession, what we're willing to give, what will bleed into our home life in a way that is not acceptable, and how to move forward with that. So, just making sure that the requests that are being made by administration, by the district, don't cross a line that is inappropriate or too much for someone to handle as they're starting. With the idea that your mental health is important, and self-care is important, and if we fill every waking hour with work, then it doesn't leave very much time for us and our families.
I think that's near and dear to my heart, Alana. Thank you for naming that and saying it. So it's that is such an important point, because when you are an educator and you really care about your students, you could just wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning in your classroom and spend all day and then go to bed there and still not get everything done that you would love to get done. And then certainly you have the administration asking you to do things that are above and beyond sort of the normal work. And I think that's such an important point, because it's not sustainable throughout a career. Like you started in 96, I started in 95. You can't sustain that for a 30-year plus career. You just can't do that. You will burn yourself out. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing with a lot of educators. They get burned out. And a lot of that is about claiming those boundaries and saying, like, this is when my day is going to end, and I'll do what I can during this day. And then I've got to go home, recharge, and take care of myself and maybe my family, my friends, and my house. And, I've got to take care of those things, because if I don't, it's just a recipe for getting to a point where you can't take it anymore. You're so overwhelmed with the treadmill that you're on that you get off, and that's a shame, because so many great teachers and education support professionals. Let's not forget them. Those folks that are going in at 4 or 5 in the morning to get the breakfast and the food ready, or going to pick up the kids in the buses. I mean, we have to take care of ourselves. So I appreciate that. But I want to thank the three of you, because I think you are often unsung heroes and don't necessarily get the spotlight and the recognition you deserve. And I wanted to start this year's slew of live streams with the three of you because you are champions and what you do is important, and folks need to know who you are and what you do, and I think, like Dina said it, just thank you for what you do. And there's a lot of folks have a lot of appreciation for what you do. I want to thank Dina and Michael and Juanita. I know she's up your way, Melody, for tuning in tonight. Any final words before we sign off?
I would just say, if you are not yet a member of the SCEA, don't go another day without it. We are doing early enrollment right now to where you can join at no cost. Your dues are not going to start till September. The support, the resources, the networking, the relationships that we have in every school, every district, the resources that we have is invaluable. And when you join the SCEA, you're not joining just an organization. You're joining your union. You're joining a collective group of people who have a common purpose, and our common purpose is to help education in South Carolina be the absolute best that it can be, and make our public schools very strong for our kids and our future. So if you're not yet a part of our family, we want you to join. And like you see, I mean, we're all in your backyard. I've got the upstate. Alana has the low country. Brandi has the Midlands. So it doesn't matter where you are. We're there. It doesn't matter what you're going through. We're there. Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, we're there and we will support you. And we're going to continue our advocacy at the State House. The more that we hear back from our members on how their teaching and learning environments are happening, is the more that we can advocate for you at the State House. But it's not just a us advocate thing. It's a everybody advocate thing. When you join, it's all of us together. We are stronger together, and we need you. Every single person needs to be a member so that we can move forward with the kind of public schools that our kids deserve.
Well said. All right.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Brandi. Go ahead.
Melody hit the nail on the head. We need to
Yeah.
hear from educators. So if you have any issue, if you have 6 preps and you know the law says you only can have 4, then call us. Or if you know that's happening to a coworker and they took a personal day instead of a professional day, call us. And whatever the issue is, call us.
Speak up for yourselves. Advocate for yourselves, and we'll help you. So
tell your coworkers to call us.
Absolutely. All right. Well, go ahead.
I would just say that, a lot of times educators feel like they're in it alone. And I think what my colleagues have said is, we're not alone. That might be the perception, but we're all in this together. And so, don't feel like you are doing it by yourself, because this is a community of people who have been in your shoes and will gladly walk beside you.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, Melody, Brandi, Alana, again, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us tonight. And go into the Facebook, check out the comments. Some folks giving you some love, and well-deserved. So y'all have a great rest of your night. Speaking of self-care and work balance, let's practice that from here on out the rest of the evening. And we'll see you. Hopefully see you all in person soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Todd.
you, Todd.
Bye. All right, that's Melody, Brandi, and Alana, the SCEA's amazing and talented UniServ directors. Please show them love on Facebook. They do so much hard work on behalf of our members at the SCEA. Before we sign off, a couple of things I want to preview. Next week, we talked about that Educator Assistance Act a little bit on this live stream. Next Wednesday from 6 to 7 o'clock, we're going to have Al Nichols, the SCEA president, Dina Cruz, who was tuning in tonight, and Dee Murph, who is our advocate specialist at the SCEA. We are going to be doing a back-to-school event focused on the Educator Assistance Act and other important information you should know. You can bring your comments and questions to that live stream. That's next Wednesday right here on Facebook from 6 to 7 o'clock. And we will talk a little bit about those 2 days you're supposed to be getting and other and certification and some other issues that are urgent and on your mind. And then the following week, we're going to have a cool conversation. This is going to take place the 27th, Wednesday, August 27th at 7 o'clock. We're going to have a one-on-one conversation with the SCEA's new president, Dina Cruz. So we hope that you will join us for that 2 weeks from tonight. And last but certainly not least, we will be resuming Cool Coaching. This is an incredible initiative started by the amazing and talented Dr. Marcella Weinsnyder. It's her brainchild, and she works with Angie Brush and Stephanie Johnson, two incredible educators in the state of South Carolina, veterans, incredibly wise and intelligent people that have a ton of experience in the classroom supporting educators. What this is, it's free, it's online, and it's one-to-one private support for induction teachers. So that means if you're in the first 5 years of your career and you're looking for some support, some unfiltered, unbiased support that you don't have to worry about, like you're not being evaluated by anybody, you're just chatting with somebody about issues that you're having or questions that you have or advice you need. This is all free, and you don't have to be a member of the SCEA to be a part of this. You just log on to cool.us/coaching. That's CEWL.us. It's at the bottom of the screen there. .us/coaching every Tuesday and Thursday night starting next week. You log on anytime between 6 and 8 o'clock, and you'll be put into a breakout room with one of these three incredible people, and you will get to ask them your questions, and you'll get some free coaching advice. That is free and brought to you by Cool, brought to you by the SCEA and NEA, and just one of the many things that we are doing to support educators here at the South Carolina Education Association. Well, again, I want to thank our UniServ directors for being with us tonight. If you are a member and have questions in your region, please reach out to them. You can find their contact information on the SCEA's website. And thanks to everybody again for tuning in. We had Brian tuning in, Felicia, Shannon. Shannon came to our retreat. Hope you're doing well, Shannon. Dina, our new president. Juanita up in the upstate. Katie, Michael in Horry County. Thanks so much for everybody who tuned in tonight. And thank you. And we want to wish everyone who's heading back to school, and some of you already started back, but for those of you heading back to school and starting a new school year, we want to wish you the best. And as Alana said, prioritize your own wellness, prioritize taking care of yourself, because you need to do that to be there long-term for our students. And if there's anything that the SCEA can do to support you as you go throughout this year, please reach out to us at the scea.org. Contact information is there. Melody put it on. If you're on Facebook, you can read the comments. There's the website, the scea.org/contact. You can find out everybody's contact information there. Juanita says hello. Hey, Juanita, how's it going? All right, we'll see you next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock with Know Your Rights. And until then, have a wonderful week.